Hey guys, here's some budget firearms as of 2025. Give you some ideas, maybe some adds to your collection. Here's the CZ P10S. These CCs seem to be slept on. Actually, I slept on them. I really like uh, how high you can get up on them. And that by that I mean like the undercut, the bore axis is pretty low, so when you're shooting this thing, it's really nice and smooth. As you can see, it comes with nice iron sights. They are phosphorus, which means they charge with ambient light. It is a negative feature in my opinion, just because like, if you're carrying it all day and you need it at night, you're not. It's not. They're not going to be charged. So, but all in all, I do like this gun. I like it for carry. It's got a really nice trigger in it. I got a Hive extension on there that really fills out the grip. I'll throw a 12 round in there here shortly, and it'll show you how small the grip is comparatively. It's got a really nice grip texture, as you can tell. Has it on the back of the mag well as well as the front and on the thumb shelves. The 12 round magazine really shrinks it up enough for me to get a little bit of a pinky on, but it's still shooting it with a 12 round is still fine. I really like it. Like I said, it feels like shooting a much bigger gun. Speaking of shooting a much bigger gun, Palmetto State Armory Daggery, Palmetto State Armory Dagger C1 compensated. I swapped out the trigger on there to a flat facing trigger. Put a Swamp Fox Sentinel on there. The compensator does eliminate a little bit of snap. It is not by far eliminating recoil, but it does help. It does make follow-up shots faster. It is noticeable, but not to a great degree. I would say maybe a 15% recoil reduction. I do like the magazines. I do like the thin profile overall. Glock 43s and 48s are really nice and thin. I like the dagger. For the price, it's really nice. I've put quite a bit of rounds through it, never had any malfunctions. The only time I've seen it malfunction, it was when I handed it to a new shooter and they had limp wristed. This is an oldie but a goodie in my opinion. This is a Ruger 95 DC. Just basically meaning it's decocker only model. These can hold 15 in one. Mine has 10 plus 1 magazines. I have a plastic filler, just the magazines I got when I had it. As you can see here, the trigger is nice. It's nice for what it is. It's a hammer fire. Single action is nice. Double action is not that great. This is less just a range toy for me, and a little nice piece of history because I believe these P95s were Ruger's first polymer handgun. This is like 90s when Glocks were in the United States and they were starting to take over, and people were having to compete. And I just like the fact that in the gun industry, people have to come up with things to compete with other things, like how the dagger is there to compete with the Glock 48 as far as a direct. I know it's a direct clone, but it's after the same market share. Next up, we have a Ruger LCP and 380. These things are going for real cheap. These are really affordable, really nice pocket guns, but the triggers are awful. These LCPs, the LCP2 isn't too bad, which I'm going to be showing next, but they're not great. This one is double action only, and it's a very long and heavy trigger. These small guns are meant to have long and heavy triggers because they're meant to be in a pocket. I've carried this quite a bit in my pocket. It is one of my backup guns. I usually carry this or a J-frame as my backup, and as you can see, it doesn't quite fill your hand. You can add, once I add the other magazine, or the magazine with the lip on there, you can see it gives you a little bit more, but you can get enough meat on there to fire the gun accurately. I did take some paint and highlight the front of the sight so you can get a little extra visibility on that front sight post. But like I said, with the rear sights being as small as they are, you ain't shooting this thing far, but you can shoot it, within reasonable distance, 7-15 yards, and still make accurate hits. Next up, we're going to have the second generation, the LCP2 here. This one's in 22 instead of 380. I use this one to mainly practice. As you saw, there was rad shot in there. That's just for bug control from where I live in the south. The one thing I do like about these LCP2s is that they have like wings on the rear here, as you can see. And for someone who's struggling in hand strength, these are really easy to rack. new shooters, older people, they find this gun very fun to shoot. 22, there's no recoil. I was debating on getting the LCP2 and 380, but there are too many options now as far as the LCP Max and the Bodyguard 2.0. I don't like the dry fire of this because it is 22. It is rimfire cartridge, but I just throw the grip in here and you could see it has a grip safety, obviously. Once the not grip safety, it has a magazine disconnect safety. So before the magazine was in there, you saw I couldn't pull the trigger, put the magazine in there, and the trigger would go all the way back. It has a much better trigger than the second one, and with the undercut of the trigger guard and the shape of the handle on this LCP2, it feels much more comfortable than the original LCP. They're about the same thickness, and carrying them feels about the same. I feel like the LCP2 is a little bit lighter, but obviously that's because it's the 22 variant. I'm sure the 380 variant weighs heavier. Now we get into some law enforcement trade-ins. This is a Glock 17 Gen 4. Comes with the all-metal night sights. Still comes with that classic Glock trigger. The texturings on Glocks are, to be desired. They're not great, but it's not, nothing. I don't know what to say. It's a Glock. Glock 17, all reliable. Law enforcement still use them to this day, but they use the updated models, the Gen 5s, with the MOS cuts, and no finger grooves, obviously. But this is former law enforcement. You can find these super cheap now. Next one is going to be a law enforcement trade-in too, but from Glocks. I would say one of their biggest competitors, Smith & Wesson, the M&P. This is a 40 that I converted to a 9. I've had this one for a while. This was, I think, my second handgun that I bought. So I've done some stuff to it. It got some sketch tape on it. I painted the frame. I swapped out to a 9mm barrel. I didn't switch the recoil spring assembly and guide rod. Some people say they do when they convert some of these 40s over 9s, but I haven't had any issues so far. And I tried it in a couple of Glocks, and they never had any issues. But some people say they do have issues, but I don't. Take that for what you will. I've got a tri-barrel in there. It's a cheaper barrel, but it seems to work well enough. I do want to throw a muzzle device on there of some sort, and then eventually kind of make this more of a faster shooting gun by switching out the trigger and making it something better. But these are just a little plastic magazines that I bought, the cheap. I forget what brand they are. They're just cheap plastic mags. But this is just showing you that this is a 9mm, not a snap kit, but just a 9mm dummy round that I want to show you that will actually chamber in this 40 and, operate just safely. Next up, let's see. Next up, we have the P80. P80s are good. If you really want experience with getting to know firearms a little bit better, if you like the mechanical side, I highly advise just building a P80. This kit I got for $300, and I just use this as like my little experiment gun. As you can see, I cut those ports into there, and I cut the window cut in the slide. This is just my little gun to experiment on. I threw the original trigger back in here just to show you guys. It is not great, but I do like the undercuts and the actual like shape of the frame and how well you can get your hands on this and the aggressive stippling. It's actually an upgrade from the Glock, which is based off of the Glock 19 Gen 3. It's based off of. Trigger, like I said, is not great, and you can see that on dry firing, it doesn't like to go into battery fully, so you have to push through the slide to make it go into battery. I just use that gun as a little experiment when I want to work on parts, work on porting, things like that. Next up is just a fun gun. Everyone's got to have a fun gun. This is a Mossberg 590 Shockwave that I recently picked up. I found this one. It wasn't in great condition. That barrel I had to refinish and re-blue it. It wasn't blue originally, but I had to blue it myself using cold bluing. It was only $250 and it was a pretty good deal. So if there's anything else you guys want to see or any other video ideas, let me know and leave in the comments down below. Later.